apparently this is one of the worst periods in the club's history. But the last 7 seasons, have they really been that bad? Hello, welcome to my channel Over and Over and Over Again, where it features everything to do with Arsenal. Now in today's video I just really wanted to look at the perception that there's been, certainly in the media and even by a large chunk of the Arsenal fan base, that kind of believes that the last few seasons the club have been in a bit of a downward spiral and maybe a bit of a crisis, and it's been, you know, one of the worst periods in the club's history. Now, those of us of a certain age can remember a time back in the early 1980s when our season was over by Christmas, you know, sometimes before then, you know, and cup humiliations were quite regular, you know, to teams like York and Middlesbrough and Oxford, and things like this used to happen every season. This is what we were used to. And over the last sort of 20-25 years, things have changed really, and we've been quite fortunate to have experienced all the great moments that we have done, certainly since the appointment of George Graham in 1986. From that point onwards, really, I don't think any Arsenal fan can really have too many complaints about what we've experienced. But in recent years, it seems as though there's been more and more criticism of the club, I say in the media and even from the fan base. Now, if you look back actually to the start of the 2013-2014 season, at that point, you know, we'd maybe been in a little bit of a slump, you could say. We'd been finishing in the top 4 every year, of course, but we wasn't really in the challenge for actual honours. I think we'd had a couple of semi-final defeats in 2009. We'd lost the League Cup final in 2011 to Birmingham. Really disappointing that was. But other than that, we hadn't really been seriously challenging for any sort of major trophy really since, of course, the great Invincible side and in the sort of early 2000s really. So at that point in time, I felt as though the club were maybe stagnated a little bit. You know, whether that was to do with the new stadium and the finances being tied up and all that as well and stuff like that. But you know, we hadn't really been going anywhere. We hadn't been advancing. But I do feel as though all that's changed since 2013. Now, if you remember, that was a transfer window when we bought Mesut Ozil, that summer transfer window, and that to me was a statement that the club were maybe going to be able to compete for top quality players. And I know Mesut Ozil's taken a lot of stick in the meantime, but there's no doubt about it that when we signed him, he was a top class, top quality player, and you could see that straight away. That season he was brilliant, and you know, probably for the first 2 or 3 seasons he was at the club, so that was a real statement that the club were maybe fighting back, if you like, and going to start challenging for trophies again. Now, if you remember, that was the season where we led the Premier League table for a large chunk of the season. I think we actually led the table at more time than anybody else throughout the whole season. You know, we were fairly consistent in the league. We had a few poor performances. Obviously, everyone remembers the 6-0 defeat at Chelsea in Arsene Wenger's 1000th match. And we suffered some other big defeats, didn't we? There was a 5-1, I think it was, at Liverpool, and 6-3 we lost at Man City. But overall, we were pretty consistent in the league. The title challenge sort of fell away towards the end, mainly because of Aaron Ramsey's injury. If you remember, he had a great season that year, didn't he? Scored 16 goals. And we did miss him, and that kind of cost us a little bit as well. But of course, in the end, we did finally manage to end our trophy drought that season. Of course, in the FA Cup, went all the way to the final, and of course beat Hull City, having earlier been 2-0 down. Of course, it was Aaron Ramsey who got that brilliant winning goal as well in extra time. Now, I know there was a lot of fans then who maybe felt that would have been a good time for Arsene Wenger to have left. He'd got the club back to winning trophies again, and maybe that would have been the right time for him to have sort of gone out at the top, if you like. But on the other side of that, and I was maybe on this side, that kind of thinking that, you know, winning their FA Cup could have been the start of a new period of success. There was we had a decent squad at that particular time. There was a few young players coming through, and you thought, you know what, maybe this team can actually go on and achieve more than just one FA Cup. Now, the following season, we did sign Alexis Sanchez, which again was another statement from the club, you know, that we were going to bring in some top quality players, and Sanchez was and remains probably for me one of the greatest players that we've signed in recent years. That season didn't start particularly well. We did suffer quite a few injuries in the first half of the season, and that kind of held us back. But certainly in the second half of the season, from sort of Christmas onwards, we put together a really strong series of results, not only in the Premier League but also in the FA Cup as well. And again, we went all the way to the final. Now, that final in 2015 was probably the most complete performance I think I've ever seen from an Arsenal side in a cup final. Dominated from start to finish, and for a change, usually when we're in cup finals, as we'd found the year before, it's usually quite a tense affair. We usually struggle, but this particular day we dominated the game. We won 4-0 in the end. Could have easily been a lot more. And of course, the highlight was that great goal from Alexis Sanchez, wasn't it? Flew into the top corner, absolutely brilliant. And of course, he was brilliant that season for us, wasn't he? Now, following that success there, I actually felt that there was a good opportunity for us to have a real go at winning the league in the 2015-2016 season. If you remember, that was a season, of course, that Leicester ended up winning it. It seemed as though, some of the traditionally sort of challengers were maybe struggling a little bit that year. I think Chelsea finished down in 10th place. Man City, it was Pep's first season. They were a work in progress. And I just felt as though there was maybe an opportunity for us to have a real good go at it, and for a while it looked as though we could. We were in the race for a lot of the season, but then again the title race kind of fell apart, didn't it, a little bit. We had a bad spell in sort of the sort of springtime, didn't we? I remember losing at home to Swansea. I think it was just a dreadful performance, and that was a run of a few games. And unfortunately in the FA Cup, we could have made history by winning it 3 years in a row, being the first time in modern times, but unfortunately we again produced a poor performance in the quarterfinals at home to Watford and got knocked out. So that season was probably a slight disappointment, although of course we did have the fun and games on the final day of the season, if you remember, where Tottenham needed a draw away at Newcastle. Had already been relegated to clinch second place. If you remember, they was in the title race, or considered to be in the title race, before again blowing it towards the end. Anyway, they should have finished second, shouldn't they? They needed just a draw at Newcastle last game. Newcastle had 10 men for most of that game, and of course Tottenham managed to do what Tottenham do, and they lost 5-1. So we were able to sneak into second place by beating Aston Villa. So again, that was maybe a disappointing season, but over the last few seasons, that's probably been one of the most disappointing that we've had when you look at the rest of them. The following season, 2016-2017, of course, if you remember, that was the season in the end where the first year that we missed out on the top four, didn't qualify for the Champions League for the first time. I think it was 20 years, wasn't it? So, but again, we were really close. We was 1 point off behind Liverpool, who came fourth. We were unfortunate. I think we had 75 points, which no team had ever got 75 points previously and not finished in the top four. So we were unfortunate there. But of course, in the end, we managed to win another trophy, the FA Cup again, the third time in 4 years. What a great sort of finish to that run there was, beating Man City in the semi-final at Wembley from a goal down, and of course Chelsea in the final. It's not like things like that happen every day. So that was another good season in terms of winning a trophy. So that was 3 seasons out of 4 we'd won a trophy, finished runners-up in the league in the other season. And then of course we went into the rather difficult 2017-2018 season, which of course turned out to be Arsene Wenger's last year at the club. Again, there was a lot of trauma that season, a lot of problems you could see going on behind the scenes. But even then, it wasn't a total disaster of a season. And in the end, our interest was kept up right until the very end. If you remember, we reached the League Cup final. So again, we got a appearance at Wembley. If you remember the semi-final of that, we beat Chelsea over 2 legs. The second leg at the Emirates was a really great night, a great performance. Come back from a goal down. Granit Xhaka got the winner. And it just showed that the team still had some spirit and some quality, really. Unfortunately, the final didn't go too well. Obviously, Man City were miles better than us, but the season was still alive because we still had the Europa League to go for. But unfortunately, the semi-final proved to be one step too far. We should have won that first leg, shouldn't we, against Atletico Madrid at the Emirates? We should have won comfortably. They were down to 10 men. We missed chance after chance, and then conceded a really poor late goal. And then we lost the away leg, didn't we, 1-0. So a disappointing season, a disappointing way for Arsene Wenger to maybe finish. But having said that, we still reached the cup final and we still reached the European semi-final, which, in certain periods in the club's recent history would have actually been considered to be a good season. So it wasn't a complete disaster, even though we only finished 6th in the league, which at that time was our lowest place for 20 years. Then, of course, we had the Unai Emery season, which was... again, quite an up and down season, a lot of sort of traumas along the way, But again, the season was kept alive all the way through with the run in Europe. Went all the way through to a European final, which, you know, for a club like Arsenal, our European history hasn't been great, has it? So to reach a European final is something to be proud of. Unfortunately, the performance in the final was dreadful, wasn't it? And Chelsea obviously won, and we don't really want to dwell too much on that. But again, you know, the season was alive up until the last day. And again, you know, we just missed out on the top four by 1 point, the second time in 3 years. Just 1 point away from getting in the top four. So again, we took that down to the last game as well. And then of course we move into the current season, which is just finished, and all the kind of dramas and stuff that's happened through that season. You know, a worst league season that most people can remember. In fact, one of the worst league seasons I can remember, and I've been around for a long time, so that shows how bad it was. But again, you see, what we managed to do was put together a run in the FA Cup, and again we kept the season alive right away to the end, as long as it was, you know, as far as it was dragged out. And again we got to the FA Cup final now, beating Man City in the semi-final, beating Chelsea in the final. Again, it's not something that happens every day, although it seems to be becoming a bit of a habit, that, doesn't it? So for us anyway. But so again, you know, we won a trophy, for the fourth trophy in those 7 years. And in the meantime, you know, we've had a couple of cup final defeats, a European semi-final defeat, runners up in the league. Is that really a bad run? Yes, compared to, you know, the early 2000s with the Invincibles winning the league, winning the doubles, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it would be a disappointment, but in the overall scheme of things, that's been a consistent run of reasonably good success. You know, it was 4 trophies, and I say a few other near misses as well. So, you know, I think we need to get a little bit of perspective. These last 7 seasons in particular haven't been that bad, have they? There's been a lot of, when you consider all the other stuff that's gone on, you know, we've had 3 managers in that time now, and there's been quite a lot of changes behind the scenes. A lot of people have been obviously getting onto the owners' back and not investing enough money. But, you know, when you look at it like that, the 7 seasons haven't been that bad. Yes, we want more, of course we do. You know, we want to be challenging for the title. We'd like to win the title again. I want to be back in the Champions League and have a real go at that. And at the moment we seem to be heading in the right direction again. But, you know, even if this has been one of the worst periods in our recent history, which you could argue it has been, it's still been a successful period for the club. You know, 4 trophies in 7 years. There's not many periods in history that we've beaten that record, you know, and there hasn't been ever. So, you know, we need to have a little bit more perspective involved and say, you know, at the end of the day, yes, it's been tough, but we've also won trophies, and there's a few clubs, particularly one that's not too far away from us, that would have swapped the last 7 years, what we've done, what we've achieved, what we've won, for what they've achieved. So let's try and remember that a little bit more. Obviously it's gone now, we're looking to a new era under Arteta, we're moving forward, and hopefully we can get back to even more success. You know, maybe the sort of success that we enjoyed, you know, 15, 20 years ago. But regardless of all that, let's just make sure in the future we do keep a bit of perspective. We are where we are, we know that, but we're still winning trophies, we're still competing for trophies, and unlike certain periods in time that I can remember, we're dragging the season on at least until right near the end of the season, keeping it alive for us all, which is all you can ask for, really, isn't it? You can't ever guarantee you're going to win trophies. All you really want to be able to do is make sure that the season's still alive and that you can compete for something, and I think that's what we've done. So that's that for today. I hope maybe it's made you maybe think a little bit differently about the last few seasons, and maybe not feel so bad about how bad we've been doing when it's not been that bad, really. So that's it for today. There's still no sort of solid transfer news, unfortunately. I was hoping that there might have been a bit coming in, but unfortunately there hasn't been, so we're going to have to wait for that. Might be something later on today. If there is, I'll do a video. I might even do a live video if I'm around to do that later on when anything's announced. If you like the content on this channel, please like, share and subscribe. It's a new channel, I'm trying to grow it, so any support will be much appreciated. Thank you to everybody, the new subscribers that I've had over the last couple of days. Thanks to everyone who's been helping me on social media in terms of sharing the channel. Really appreciate it. And so look out for some more videos coming soon. Be doing some more stuff like this, some player profiles, and looking ahead to the new season in a couple of weeks time as well, which doesn't seem very long since the last one finished, does it? But anyway, there's all that to come, so lots of stuff to come on the channel as well. I'll also be introducing a few live podcasts as well over the next couple of weeks, doing some live stuff as well, adding that into the channel, so stay tuned for that. And I say thanks for all your support, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, And as always, in the meantime, come on, you Gunners.